Hi, my name is Holly, and before this class, when someone made an argument I disagreed with, I would just say that's not true and I would just move on. I never really asked why. I didn't look for any of the evidence. I just simply reacted. I'm a published author, a nonprofit founder, and a survivor advocate. So that means that I'm working with vulnerable people every single day, and critical thinking is not really optional in my work, it's everything. This class ended up giving me those tools that I actually didn't have before. And today I'm going to go over three of them: cherry picking, hasty generalization, and the warrant. So, first, we're going to talk about cherry picking. This is when someone only uses the facts and that support their argument and ignores everything else that hurts it. So, say you failed four tests and you decide, I'm not going to show my parents the test I failed. Instead, I'm just going to show them this one that I actually passed. Um, so that's cherry picking. I practiced this in application assignment number 6, analyzing an argument about domestic violence funding cuts. The White House used a political label to justify cutting over $500 million in grants while ignoring that shelters were closing, hotlines were literally cutting hours, and the homicide rates were rising. That is cherry picking. They hid the full picture to make their argument look stronger than what it really was. Before this class, I would have just felt angry. Now I can point to exactly where the argument breaks down. And when I write for my nonprofit, I ask myself, what am I leaving out? What does the full picture really look like? Next, we're going to go over hasty generalization. A hasty generalization is when you actually take one example and you'll just assume that it applies to everyone. So, like, for example, if you meet one rude person that comes, like, they're from a city, and then you decide that entire city is rude just based off that one person. I actually practiced this in assignment application number 7, analyzing the argument that domestic violence victims should just leave their abusers. That argument assumes every survivor has the resources and options. Studies show 75% of domestic violence homicide victims had left or tried to leave within the past year. When leaving is actually the most dangerous moment. The just leave argument, it's a hasty generalization. And the problem is it comes with very deadly consequences. And to be honest, this one I did take pretty personal. I heard this argument for years, years upon years. And before this class, I could feel like how wrong it was. I just couldn't really put a name to it. And now I can. And that kind of changes everything about how I advocate. Next, we're going to go over the warrant. A warrant is actually the bridge between your evidence and your claims. So when you say that it's raining outside, so bring an umbrella, the warrant is the assumption that the umbrella is going to keep you dry. Without that bridge, the argument completely falls apart, no matter how good that evidence sounds. I practiced this in application assignment number 5, analyzing the argument about tariffs creating jobs. They had a very strong claim. The evidence existed, but the logical bridge explaining how tariffs actually lead to job creation, it was never there. It never existed. The warrant was missing, and the whole argument collapsed. So now when I write, I ask myself, have I actually connected my evidence to my point, or am I assuming the reader is going to fill in that gap? And that's a completely different way of writing than I actually had before. So in conclusion, sorry, I had an itch. Cherry picking taught me to look for what is missing. Hasty generalization was able to teach me to question how far a conclusion actually reaches. And the warrant was able to teach me how to build the bridge between evidence and point, as well as how important that is. I advocate every day for people who've been told their voices don't matter, and critical thinking is the most important tool that I actually have. And this class actually made my critical thinking so much sharper. So, to end, I have one challenge for you. Pick one thinking habit from this assignment and keep it alive after today. Ask what evidence is missing. Ask how far this conclusion actually reaches. Ask what connects the evidence to the claim. You just have to be willing to just slow down a little bit and ask the right questions. And that is what this class taught me. And I plan on not just carrying that throughout my time here at campus, but just everywhere that I go. So thank you again. My name is Holly Scarpinato.